This is a painting I did in 2017. I spent hours on it. Back then, I even called it the best painting I'd ever done. You can find it on this channel. If you go back far enough, there's an embarrassing video I made about it. At the time, it was the most complex piece I'd ever attempted, rich in detail with some genuinely good moments. But zooming out, there was one problem that overshadowed everything else. Welcome back guys, this is part 6, the final part in my Learn to Draw in Procreate series. If you're new here, go back and start from part 1, and don't forget that for each part there is a corresponding tutorial over on my Patreon where we dive deeper and apply the skills we've learned here. Now, color is a huge subject, and I didn't want to do just a typical paint along with me tutorial. Instead, I went back to look at my old work because color has been a problem in my own art for years. 9 years to be exact. And embarrassingly, I only just figured out why. And it all comes down to one specific concept, something that if I'd learnt it earlier, it would have changed everything. If you can understand this, it'll save you years of going in the wrong direction. So let's go back to this painting from 2017. It's bright and colorful, and you could argue that that's part of the style, but honestly, that's a cop-out. For as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to paint colors as realistically as possible, and this just isn't cutting it. So fast forward to 2024, 7 years later, I saw this image and I thought to myself, I should take another crack at it. Like, surely after all this time, I should have improved, right? Wrong. So here is the 2017 piece alongside the 2024 piece. I thought that if I just reduced the brightness and saturation, it would make the colors more realistic and better, but really there's not that much improvement. It still looks cartoony, just a dull cartoony. This frustrated me for a long time, and I kept wondering, what is the problem with my colors? And it wasn't until I did some research for this video and challenged myself to repaint this that I realized my brain has been tricking me this whole time. This is a little hard to explain, and chances are you believe that your brain is completely logical, but truthfully it's not, and I'm going to show you why. To explain, we're going to do a color picking and comparison exercise in Procreate using this reference image. And just a quick reminder that if you are part of my Patreon, you'll be able to download this file so you can work with it yourself if you'd like to. Check it out at patreon.com/jaywalkerpictures, and I really appreciate your support. So what I want you to do is go up here and create a new layer on top of this grayscale image. And you can use any grayscale image you want, just make sure you also have the colored version as well. And on this layer, I'm going to start painting the colors that I think the apple are. I'm going to go and grab my brush. So I'm just using my round wet brush. You can use any brush, doesn't really matter. And let me go up here to the color wheel and pick the color of this apple. Now we all know that apples are red. So I'm going to just choose a red color like this. And I'm going to paint that on top here like that. Don't worry about making it perfect. We're just going to paint this on, and then again, this apple here. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is go up here, create a new layer, and I'm going to place my color swatches here. So we're going to take this red color that we just used, and I'm just going to do something like that. And that is kind of our mid-tone or our local color that is the apple. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is go here to our layers, like select the original local or mid-tone layer, create a new layer on top of that, and this is going to be our shadow layer. So set this to a clipping mask, which means that all brush strokes will be constrained to the layer beneath it. And I'm going to go back here to my color wheel, and let's choose a shadow color, right? So I'm going to go down here, just choose something a bit darker. And if we look at the reference just for a moment, you can see that there's kind of a shadow here, and then there's also a shadow on this one, and then there's a bit of light hitting. So I'm going to roughly try to approximate that. Let's turn this back on. Okay, and on my shadow layer, let's just something like this. Okay, and again, I'm going to go back to my swatch layer, and we're going to put down a shadow color here. And finally, we're going to do the same thing for the highlights. So create another layer, make it a clipping mask. And I'm going to choose my local color, this color here, and then I'm going to brighten it up a bit. So let's just, I'm just moving it closer to the white and also making it a bit more orange. And I'm just going to whack in a highlight here. And you can blend it if you want, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to do something like that. And I'm going to grab that color again and go back to our swatches and place that here. So that's going to be my shadow, my mid-tone / local color, and then this is going to be my highlight. Now, before you start yelling at me in the comments, this is not the correct way to paint. I'm actually just showing you the way that most tutorials will teach you how to paint. You know, for me growing up learning about art, I was taught to choose your midtone, then add a shadow color, then add a highlight color. It makes a lot of sense, right? This has led me down the wrong path for years. And so this is something you need to catch early and redirect yourself so that you don't end up wasting all the time like I did. So these are the colors that my brain told me these apples are. Now you might have done things slightly differently. Maybe you were a bit more savvy. You kind of knew that, you know, this wouldn't be as red as this and it might be a bit more toned down. If you do know that, kudos to you, that's great. But what we're going to do now is reveal the actual colors from the reference photo. So if I go here in my group here, I'm going to turn off the reference and I'm going to turn off my shading as well. And here are the apples. And you can obviously see the colors are very different to what I assumed they would be. Again, these color choices were pretty extreme. You might be a bit more accurate with yours, but I don't think you would have been able to nail these exactly without having seen them first. Okay, so let me go back to my round wet brush, and on our swatch layer, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna color pick the exact colors from here and compare them against our pre-selected colors here. So, you know, for the local color, maybe it would be the red, the rich red that's about here, right? And that would be our midtone local color. And then we have the shadow color, which is obviously something like this. And then our highlight color, which is right up here. You choose the brightest point on our highlight. And yeah, you can see like that's a huge difference, right? It's completely different to what our brain's preconceived notion of what an apple is, right? And this phenomenon actually has a name. It's actually called color constancy. And that's the phenomenon where our brains have a preconceived notion of what colors certain objects are. You know, so apples are red, the sky is blue, and these leaves would be a really deep forest green, for example. And what I want you to do is when you're painting your own artworks, or even when you're just in day-to-day life, think about that color constancy issue. When you're looking at an object, think about what is your brain telling you the color that that object is versus what it actually is. A good example here is I have this stormtrooper figure on my table, and in my mind, it's telling me it's white. You know, stormtroopers are white. But if I would actually color pick this stormtrooper right in front of me, it would probably be gray. Yep, it's gray. So you can see down here is the pure white, and then up here is the actively picked color, and it's all gray. Everything, even if I choose, you know, a bright area, it's still not white. So if you can get your head around this concept and see past your brain's deception of what it's telling you, then that's the first step to learning how to paint color. Okay, so now that we know that color constancy exists, how do we logically think about it so that we don't get tricked again? So let's take a deeper look at the 2024 version. So here you can see I'm making the same mistake as we were talking about before. So I'm painting objects the color that I think they are versus what they actually are under certain lighting circumstances. So notice that here the cherry blossoms are pink, the grass is green, and the concrete is gray. These all make logical sense, but I didn't want to be trapped again, and I knew that if I treated these items the same, I would end up with the same result. So how should we treat them? Now for the repaint, I didn't want to repaint exactly the same thing, but I kind of did a new compositional sketch of the same subject matter. And I think this better captures the scene in a more realistic way. And just to make things even more apparent, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint those three items the exact same colors that I used in my 2024 version. So I'm going to use this pink for my cherry blossoms, I'm going to use the green for the grass, and I'm going to use this gray for the pavement to start out. Now the key to not getting trapped by color constancy is understanding your light source. So for this scene, I decided to place the sun somewhere in the top left. And the key to making this work is understanding the color of the light depending on the time of day. An early or late sun casts a red glow due to the horizon. A midday sun casts a natural white light. And in our situation, a mid-morning or mid-afternoon sun, the sun casts a more golden yellow color over our scene. And knowing this is going to help us avoid the color constancy issue. So bringing this back to my painting, this is going to be a mid-morning scene, so the sun will cast a yellow color. And so the cherry blossom, the grass, and even the concrete itself becomes yellow. It's completely unintuitive because if you ask yourself what is the color of grass or concrete, the obvious answer is green or gray, not yellow. Now, I know if you're a more experienced artist, you're probably yelling in your mind right now thinking, you need to use reference, paint from life. And you're right. So here's some reference I found before I started the painting to confirm my thoughts. Okay, so in this image, I want you to have a look at the pavement down here. Now, if you ask me, normally I would say that pavers are kind of a gray, a bluish gray maybe, but let's zoom into them and let me color pick them. So these are leaning more towards a warm gray, right? And if I keep moving over this, you know, I'm even getting really bright beige colors here. And if we zoom out and you kind of just squint at this, it almost looks like a whitish yellowy color. Okay, the next reference I want to show you guys is this one. And the thing I want you to focus on is actually this grass. And naturally we think it's green, but if I go and color pick this, you know, we've got a lot of different colors and tones in here. Many that are kind of more towards the yellow side of things. So let me zoom in more and, you know, you can see how it's not that rich forest green that we get an impression of when you zoom out, but when you zoom in and color pick things, you can see there's lots of patches of light yellows. Of course, you do have like those deep greens as we get into the shadows, like here is a nice deep green, but it's not everywhere, right? We do have a lot of these yellows coming into play. And, you know, if we look in the background here, this is almost fully yellow. Okay, and one last piece of reference I want to show you guys. Here is a really cool image where you can see both the concrete and the grass happening. So, you know, this concrete really is yellow. Look at that, like that is full on yellow. And I think the reason why concrete just goes full on yellow is because its local color is gray, and gray isn't really a color, it's a very neutral tone. So it just absorbs or reflects the light that's being shone at it. Okay, again, when we look at the grass, you know, this grass looks green, but if we zoom in on the grass in sunlight, that's like super yellowy green, right? It's not, you know, the deep, rich greens that we think of when we paint grass, or when I would paint grass anyways. That's like a really rich forest green, but that's actually in the shadow. The majority of the sunlit grass is actually yellow. Before you learn anything about the color wheel, color contrast, combinations, or hue or saturation, understanding color constancy and the way your brain tricks you is the first step in learning about color and becoming a better artist. But this is only the first step. Knowing a concept is different to actually practicing it, and that's what we do over on my Patreon. For each video in this series, there's a companion tutorial where you get to apply these concepts in a finished piece. So if you want to deepen your knowledge or just want something fun to draw, check it out at patreon.com/Jaywalker. For those that would prefer to own this series outright, I'll be compiling all videos plus the Patreon tutorials and brushes into a Learn to Draw bundle that will be available in June. If you want to be notified when it launches, check out the link in the description below. Okay, so that's part 6 done. It's been a wild ride producing this series. What started out as a series about drawing techniques turned into something I didn't expect, a reason to go back and honestly confront 9 years of my own mistakes. And it's definitely challenged me to improve as an artist. Now, believe it or not, all of this is just the beginning. Each of the videos in this series was only just skimming the surface. So if you want to continue your art journey, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out my links below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.